Hello, I would like to welcome all you retards and screwheads to my latest episode. This is a show devoted to uh, taking news of the day and giving it a biblical slant. So let's get started, shall we? My first story is just about Fox News in general. My general view of Fox News and one person in particular. Uh, I live in Asia, so I don't have a lot of sources on the TV. I don't, my options are very limited. I have cable TV, but most of it's in a foreign language. And then I have two cell phones. I have Netflix and I have internet. All that costs me about $130 a month. I'm not sure if that's a good deal. 130 for, like I said, cable, two smartphones, internet, and Netflix. Anyway, there you go. And I watch Fox News because, like I said, there's nothing else. You get a choice between that. You can watch CNN, which I don't care for CNN. I call it the SNN, the Sodomite News Network. I don't want. I don't care what Anderson Cooper has to say. And they used to have that other sodomite, Don Lemon, and I didn't care what he had to say. And I'm no big fan of Jake Tapper. I don't think he's a sodomite, but he certainly is doing his best impression of one. And I don't care about him. And you get the message. I don't have to keep hitting the dead donkey. I'm just not a fan of CNN. And then I can watch the BBC, and that sucks. It's even more left-leaning than CNN. Not that I'm a conservative guy. I'm really not that conservative. It's just that what other option is there? And then Fox News kind of sucks, right? Because they always fire their best hosts. I used to enjoy watching Glenn Beck, and they fired him. That was back in, I think, 2011 they fired him, I believe. And then they fired Bill O'Reilly, who I really liked him, but they got rid of him. And then my favorite was Tucker Carlson, and they got rid of Tucker too, So now it's filled with the dregs, Jesse Waters with the hair, and Laura Ingraham, and Sean Hannity, So not a big fan of Fox News. It's just the best out of bad options that I have. There's some good stuff on the internet I look at, but anyway. I was sometimes I watch this Fox and Friends in the morning. It's on when I get home from work because the time schedule is different. And there's this attractive lady named Ainsley Earhardt. She's 47, but she looks good for her age. And she's always talking about Jesus, and she's always talking about these Christian rock bands that they have on Fox and Friends. And she's big into that, flouting her Christianity and whatnot. And I found out something about her. She's a fornicator. She's been married 2 times, divorced, and now she's fornicating with Sean Hannity. And he divorced his long-term wife to fornicate with her. And I'm going to tell you, that's not good. That's not the way Christianity works. I don't care how many gospel songs you listen to. There's an element of obedience, right? Jesus is your Lord and Savior. Lord, meaning he's the guy who calls the shots. And you can't just do anything you want because you're Christian. Well, I'm Christian, so I'm going to continue to be a abortionist, right? God will forgive me. Or I'm Christian, so I'm going to continue to be a pimp, right? Don't worry, God's going to forgive me. I'm a pimp. I gotta make a living, right? That's not the way it works. That's called antinomianism. This idea that the law doesn't matter, that everything is forgiven. Why bother, right? I can do anything I want. God's grace is so perfect that I can do anything I want, and doesn't work that way. Paul spells it out in 1 Corinthians 6 to all you people who don't read the Bible. fornicators, liars, cheats, swindlers, homosexuals, murderers, blah, blah, blah. They all go to the same place. What place is that? Hell. That doesn't mean you can't change your ways. The thing is after you change your ways, you're not supposed to go back to that lifestyle. You can't profess Christ and then continue, like I said, in your sin. You at least have to make an attempt to give it up, right? So I would say to Ainsley, I'd say the next time Sean comes a knocking, don't answer the door, or at least tell him, say, hey, look, Sean, I'm closed for business until I get that ring. And it's not easy. That's the way it works. And people say, oh, you're judging. I'm not judging. It's written. If you believe in the Bible, if your interpretation of Christianity is biblical, it's right there. I'm not making it up. So anyway, that's my first story. Story number 2. I'm at 6 minutes. I try to keep them below 10 minutes. Story number 2. Our senile old president, Joe, flew to Normandy, France, to give a speech about D-Day. And in that speech, it was very multicultural. He thanked the women of World War II and the people of color of World War II while he was standing amongst all these graves. And of course, you just can't, this day and age, you can't thank whitey. Although 99% of the corpses in those graves were white men. Are white men, I should say. I guess the remains are still there. You can't do that. You do that and you're a racist, right? You got to bring in the other elements and pretend that women who were behind the lines won the war. That's just the way it goes these days. And it was very ironic. It wouldn't. You're standing amongst all these dead white folk who made the ultimate sacrifice, right? All these dead white dudes, and then you're thinking the women, and you're thinking the people of color, But that's the way it's got to be these days. You can't. You got to hate white people. If you don't hate white people, like I said, you're a racist. If you don't call us evil, then you're a filthy racist. But the more disturbing part is how he keeps pushing this whole war in the Ukraine. He started calling Putin Hitler, that Putin is going to take over all, his main plan is to take over all of Europe. And listen, I'm no fan of Putin. I think he's a savage. I think he's the type of guy who would drink his beverages out of his enemy's skull. He's a dirtbag, but he's not Hitler, right? And comparing him to Hitler is, what you're doing is you're saying to yourself, the average citizen is an ignoramus, and I can compare him to Hitler to gain support. The truth is that Ukraine does not belong in NATO. And that notion of Ukraine taking a NATO membership sends chills up the spine of Russia, because nobody wants weapons on their doorstep. You can go back to the Korean War, when MacArthur started getting close to the Chinese border, and suddenly millions of Chinese guys stormed out and drove us all the way back to Busan. My point is nobody wants that. Nobody wants the enemy at their gates. And it's as simple as that. And now Biden is giving them permission, the Ukrainians, to strike inside of Russian territory. Big mistake, huge mistake. Could lead to World War III and nuclear war. And it's like these people have a death cult. They won't be happy until the entire world's on fire. And I just don't get it. I don't understand it in the least. It seems suicidal. Anyway, what do I know? Anyway, I'm at 10 minutes, and I'm going to stop now because I don't want to bore anybody. I wish you all a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.